Ready?
How's prep?
It's going all right.
Yeah?
It's going okay. Funny enough, bench is the one that's been not as good this time. So.
Well, with this tutorial today,
after the tutorial today,
we can fix some issues here for young Joseph. If you don't know who I am, I'm Ravi. I'm one of the coaches here at Team Live to Lift, and we're going through a bench press tutorial today, covering warm-up, setup, and some accessory movements that you can do to help improve your bench with us. Okay, starting off with the warm-up, we're going to grab a light resistance band. So although the bench press predominantly works pectoral muscles, triceps and shoulders, we also want to be warming up our back muscles as well as our legs as well. So we're going to start off with warming up our back. So we're going to take the resistance band and have it round a pole. You can even do this on a small cable, just with some light weight as well. And we're going to be warming up our upper back muscles. So in the plane of motion which we are going to be doing the bench press, you're going to pull, elbows out, hold for a second, and let your shoulders roll forward there. Just holding for a second. This is going to help warm up our lats, traps, rhomboids, biceps, whilst also mimicking or reversing the position of the bench press. We're looking anywhere between 15 to 20 reps. We're then going to pair it up with the sport-specific movement. So we're not going to get into full setup just yet. Find yourself a position that's comfortable for you. Same again, anywhere between 15 and 20 reps. Working the opposite muscle groups. So stretching out our pecs, deltoids, and getting some activation for our triceps as well. I would also recommend warming up your legs and lower back. So again, find something to hold on to and just perform some light leg swings. Just get your hamstrings firing. Again, about 15 to 20 on each leg. Leg swings, adduction swings, and lower back swings. Now that we've warmed up, the next thing to focus on is our setup. A lot of lifters miss out on kilos on the bench press due to poor setup or not being tight enough through this movement as well. Firstly, we're going to determine which rack height Joe needs. So Joe, if you lay back for me, and before we even start setting up, I want you to take your normal competition grip. This will vary depending on your leverages. If you have longer arms, we normally recommend that you take your grip slightly more outwards to reduce the range of motions. If you are lucky enough to have shorter arms, particularly on this movement, we can bring this grip in as such. I'm just going to stand over him and I just want Joe to lift up. So as you can see, firstly from re-racking, is that we are clearing the racks quite easily. Also, when he is lifted off, we've got too much bend in the arms, and therefore we could potentially be causing more fatigue on our triceps than we need to perform this movement at a maximal level as well. So for Joe, we're going to move the rack height just up one level. Just lift up for me. So there's enough clearance on the rack here, whilst also not bending the arm too much. So for our standpoint, I'm happy with this rack height for Joe. It's going to take a few times for you to determine what rack height suits you better. Some people might actually prefer a little bit more bend in the arms to unwrap from their lift, but especially when you have a spotter here, try and keep it as high as you can. Next is the setup for the bench press. So Joe, if you lie back for me, and I want to take your hands on the bar and slide your head so it comes over the bench this way. I then want you to bring your feet as far under as you can or your flexibility allows. This is going to help us enhance our leg drive. Without trying to move his feet, Joe has taken his competition grip already. I want Joe to slide himself through so that his eyes are in line with the bar. And he is driving his heels down. So you can see from here that you've got some quad and glute activation from here. The next step is that we want to bring our shoulder blades towards our back pockets there. This is going to increase the engagement of our lats. The reason that we are setting up like this is to create the most stable position possible. Whilst those who are not specifically training for powerlifting do not need to arch this much, you still need a small arch in your lower back to create a stable position here. In the sport of powerlifting, we are trying to reduce the range of motion as much as possible, because in theory we can then lift more weight from that position there too. So from here, I'm going to ask Joe to take a big breath on 2, and I'm going to lift up and bring the bar out towards his sternum here. Okay, ready? In 3, 2, 1. Over there. So keeping his shoulder blades to his back pockets, he's going to keep his breath in and perform 5 reps for me. Driving the heels down and press. Good. So in powerlifting, the bar has to stop dead on the chest before you then get a press command. In some federations, you'll get a start and a press and then a rack command. And rack. So depending on which federation you compete in, there are set different rules as well. But the ultimate one is that the bar must stop dead on your chest. So a common mistake people make is after doing all the hard work setting up as I've just shown him, is that when I bring the bar over, all that hard work then goes away by unlocking our shoulders here. So therefore, this is placing more of the load on our trapezius rather than keeping our lats loaded to then perform the movement more efficiently as well. So a tip for lifters is, especially when you're getting a lift off, if you just reset up again. As the lifter, I just want you to imagine you're doing a pullover, either like with a dumbbell where you've done a straight bar with the cables before as well. 3, 2, 1, so pull over, you see there, his lats have stayed on, and I'm just guiding the bar out to where he likes his start position. Okay, so introducing weight onto the bar. So let's grab some 20s. Happy with 60, aren't you? Yeah. So we've now added some weight onto the bar, again, just to see if we can find any technical deficiencies within Joe's bench press. So Joe, if you set up for me just as we've done, so legs as far under as you can. And the cue that we like to use for our lifters, it's one that I've inherited, which I think is quite good, is stay big. So I just want you to imagine stay big. So a lot of times people will say sternum up, heels down. There's a lot going through the lifter's heads at this stage already without overcomplicating it with too many cues. So Joe, stay big. In 3, 2, 1. Over there. And perform 3 reps. So you can see from Joe's setup, his legs are activated straight away. The more muscles that we have activated throughout this movement, the more chance we've got moving more kilos on the bar as well. But then this is also enhancing his stability throughout the movement. With his lats switched on as well, he is also helping shortening the range of movement by not overlocking there. So we're just going to get Joe in again and just go through a common mistake that we see from lifters. So they start off setting off really well. The first couple of reps was really good, really technically efficient. And press, and again. Yep, and then as the lifter gets more fatigued, they then start to break down their technique and start rolling his shoulders forward. So we've unlocked our lats, our legs aren't as efficiently driving down as well, placing more emphasis on the traps and shoulders, and rack there, and increasing the range of motion. And in this sport, we want to try and reduce that range of motion as much as we possibly can as well. So if we look at Joe's first set, he's thinking about locking out his elbows rather than pushing to me as the spotter. I think that's probably one of the more common mistakes, especially when you do have a training partner, is that you're focused on trying to push towards your spotter and therefore unlocking your shoulders there, versus if you focus on staying big and locking out your elbows, you're going to be moving that bar a lot better. Another common mistake that we see is that the lifter lifts their bum off the bench. This could be due to a number of reasons. One is that they've not set themselves up properly here. They're not enhancing the leg drive that they've created from their setup, and also, without being too crude, their ego is taking over the lift. So, gonna lift off again, 3, 2, 1. So just perform 2 reps as you normally would. I'm gonna come round. So as you can see, by him driving his heels down, it's then activating his glutes to then stay in contact with the bench. Okay, just now, no leg drive and lift up. If people aren't timing this correctly, they'll then look at lifting their bum up. They're trying to shift too much weight onto their upper body rather than allowing their legs to do some of the work. It's actually harder to do it that way, isn't it?
Feels weird.
Like after doing it so long. Yeah. Just re-emphasising that point as well. So if we're actively driving our heels down, Joe is set up on his toes. In some federations, you are not allowed to set up on your toes. Your heels must be down anyway. But if he is actively driving his heels down into the floor and pushing back into the bench, his bum is going to stay on the bench. Okay, so although we see some common mistakes technically with the bench press, we also do have some weak points, whether that be from your triceps, whether that be from actually pushing the bar straight off from your chest, or it could be some upper back weaknesses as well. So we're going to go through a couple of bench press specific accessory movements. If you wanted to find out what your weaknesses are or how you can improve those weaknesses, then if you click the coaching inquiry in the link below, you can speak to any one of us where we can go through your form and find out those weaknesses for you as well. Okay, so a very simple one to have, especially if your gym has sort of limited equipment. You can stay with the barbell, but Joe is going to perform a close grip bench press. Close grip, in my eyes, is determined that it is closer than your normal competition grip. A lot of people will sort of grip in here, and put too much emphasis on the triceps and even anterior deltoids as well. We still want the movement to be slightly sport specific. So Joe, if you just set up for me, just take your normal competition grip for now. And now I want you to bring that ring finger and pinky finger onto the inside of the ring. So this is closer than Joe's normal competition grip, and we've talked about how we want to reduce the range of motion for our actual competition press, but in order to help fight through weaknesses, we want to gain more tricep activation and push the movement through a larger range of motion to push through those weak points. So Joe, if you set up again for me, just as you normally would, there, just do 3 reps for me. So as we can see from his previous bench press, this is a much larger range of movement for Joe. What I will say is bringing your hands in will determine how much tricep activation that you would like, and also determine how much you need to drive through your weak point as well. Next accessory movement is going to be a Spoto press. It's designed to help if you are weak off your chest. So I'm going to bring the bar out. Joe is going to lower the bar to around about 1 to 2 inches off his chest. Pause and press. So we're not using any momentum by dipping and pressing. Do a few more for me. So the bar is stopping dead, and it is mimicking if we are just pushing off our chest and we've got that weak point. Another 2 which can kind of coincide with each other, one of which is that we're just going to slow the eccentric portion of the lift down, so the actual lowering movement. Some of us refer to this as a tempo bench press, or others might say eccentric, sort of like loading press as well. So Joe, back to your normal competition grip. Again, you can vary the grip width on this if you want to target more tricep or want to push for a longer range of motion. Okay, 4, 3, 2, 1, press. Good. So what this is teaching Joe is that cue of staying big and not allowing the bar to sink into his chest. Again, 4, 3, 2, 1, press. 4, 3, 2, 1, and press. So that is a common mistake that we can see from lifters, is that when they're getting fatigued, they're then not using that cue to stay big, allowing the bar to sink into their chest and then switching off their back muscles as well. So this movement certainly helps with you keeping your setup on point. And then the last one is that we can train sort of like the other way round. So if you struggle with pressing off your chest, we're then going to enhance the amount of time that we are locked in this position from here. So although we are using a slightly lighter weight, it is going to cause more technical demand on Joe to be able to complete the lift properly. You're going to hold it for 10 seconds on your chest. You're probably thinking about breathing. Yes, we want to obviously breathe so we don't die, but it's just taking little short breaths in and out whilst keeping that position in there from there too. Okay, 3, 2, 1, and down. 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, press. Just enhancing staying in this position here. A lot of lifters fail the lift through either lowering the bar down or actually failing from that press command on the chest. So not only is it teaching him good habits to wait for the press command, it's also making sure that his technique is on point as well. Cool, so just wrapping that up, we've covered quite a lot through setup and potential movements that can help you improve your bench press as well. These movements were generalized today, as each weak point is going to be specific to each lifter. If you want to find out what your weak point is or have some analysis on how we can improve your bench, do click the link below where you can speak to myself, Nick or Shah about improving your bench press for the future. This bit's for Nick. Don't forget to like, subscribe, comment. Comments are a point of emphasis. It could be that Ravi is ugly, or I think the popular one the other day was Shah is ugly. So comment what you like. Comments, doesn't matter. Just don't be too rude. And yeah, don't forget to follow us on Instagram as well. We'll put a little banner there to follow us on Instagram there too. But thank you, signing off.